What's up, folks? Welcome into HuPAC Talk from the kitchen, where today I'm going to be making one of my favorite, easy and delicious summertime desserts. That's right, folks, I'm talking about key lime pie with a graham cracker crust. Now, the recipe I typically use for this calls for a pack of these little soldiers to get broken up via food processor. I don't have a food processor, so instead I'm actually going to be using one of these bad boys to break them up instead. Let's get to work. All right, folks, I'm just going to simply fill up this plastic bag with these graham crackers so as to keep the crumbs contained when I whack them.
All right, we'll go ahead and mix in 5 tablespoons of melted butter and 3 tablespoons of sugar. And I'll mix this with a fork to kind of break up some of the bigger chunks of graham cracker that I missed, and just effectively combine all these components. When you're done, your mixture should look like wet sand and smell like heaven. All right, and we'll just go ahead and pour these crumbs into our 9-inch pie plate, scraping them out as needed. And now we're just gonna use a measuring cup to kind of shape this loosely into our desired form. All finished.
When forming the crust, it's important to apply a fair amount of pressure so that it doesn't crumble to pieces the moment you cut into it. We'll go ahead and bake our crust in a 325-degree oven for about 15 minutes. All right, so for our filling, we're gonna go ahead and add 4 egg yolks to a bowl, and then 4 teaspoons of lime zest. And now I'll whisk them up until our egg yolks are a really lovely shade of green. To this, we're going to add half a cup of lime juice, and then a can of sweetened condensed milk. All right, just pulled this graham cracker crust from the oven. It always cracks me up when recipes direct you to bake the graham cracker crust until it's brown. Graham crackers are already brown, so why the hell are you telling me this? It's not helpful at all. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and set this aside for about half an hour and let the acid in the lime juice essentially cook the egg yolks, rendering it both safe to eat and setting up our filling. This technique is actually used in Mexican cooking to make ceviche, where raw fish or seafood is marinated and essentially cooked in citrus juice. All right, so it's been a half an hour, and as can be seen here, our filling has thickened considerably. So now we're ready to pour it into our cooled crust. And that just comes out super easily. All right, and now I'll bake this at 325 for 15 more minutes. All right, so our time's up. We'll go ahead and take our pie out of the oven.
Our filling is really nicely set. We can go ahead and cool this down to room temperature before transferring it to the refrigerator and chilling it there for 4 hours.
Chill time's over. All right, kids, the only thing left to do is to whip up some cream and top this baby. We're gonna go ahead and use 3/4 cup of cold whipping cream. And really all this takes is a crap load of time, about 7 quarts of elbow grease, and a steely resolve, because I'm doing this the old school way. When whipping cream, I like to put on a nice lengthy film to help pass the time. Today it's The Irishman. All right, folks, looks like we're starting to generate some soft peaks, so I'm actually gonna go to the kitchen and wrap this up. I'm gonna go ahead and add some superfine sugar to this cream and whip it to stiff peaks. Talk about a movie whose contents really didn't justify its runtime. I mean, that was absolutely outrageous. It just kept going. It wouldn't freaking end. All these people out here complaining about inflation. How about we start with the producers of The Irishman? Because that was a disaster. Okay, so as you can see, we've got some nice stiff peaks. So let's go ahead and top this puppy off. And here she is, in all her glory. That really is quite nice. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of HuPAC Talk from the kitchen. I will be back next week with another episode of our standard programming. Until then, I wish you all the best. Thank you.